The Ghost of Willowmere Manor. Once upon a time, in the quiet village of Everbrook, there stood a grand but abandoned mansion known as Willowmere Manor. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the ghost that was said to haunt its halls, a sorrowful spirit named Eleanor. Long ago, Eleanor had been the beloved daughter of Lord and Lady Hawthorne, the original owners of the manor. She was kind and full of life, often seen playing in the gardens or reading by the great oak tree. But tragedy struck one stormy night when a terrible accident took her life. Heartbroken, her parents left the manor, and it fell into ruin. Yet Eleanor's spirit remained, forever lingering in the place she once called home. For years, the villagers avoided Willowmere Manor, fearing the ghost that wandered its halls. They whispered of candlelight flickering in the windows at night, of soft laughter drifting through the air, and of a lonely figure standing by the great oak tree when the moon was full. But no one dared to go inside until a young boy named Thomas arrived in Everbrook. Thomas had recently moved to the village with his mother. He was a curious and adventurous boy, unafraid of ghost stories. When he heard the tale of Willowmere Manor, he decided to see the ghost for himself. One evening, just as the sun was setting, Thomas made his way to the manor. The great iron gates creaked as he pushed them open. The path was overgrown with ivy, and the once beautiful gardens were wild and tangled. The mansion itself stood tall and silent, its windows dark like hollow eyes. With a deep breath, Thomas stepped inside. The air was cool, and a faint scent of lavender lingered in the halls. Dust covered the grand staircase, and cobwebs hung like curtains from the chandeliers. But despite its eerie appearance, the house did not feel threatening. As he wandered through the rooms, he suddenly heard a soft whisper. "Who's there?" a voice echoed. Thomas turned and saw a pale figure standing by the window. She was a young girl, dressed in an old-fashioned gown, her golden hair shimmering in the moonlight. Though her form was ghostly, her eyes were filled with sadness, not malice. "You must be Eleanor," Thomas said bravely. The ghost gasped. "You know my name?" Thomas nodded. "The villagers tell stories about you, but I don't think you're scary. Just lonely." Eleanor lowered her gaze. "I have been alone for so long. No one ever comes here. They are all afraid of me." "Well, I'm not," Thomas said with a smile. "Maybe we can be friends." Eleanor's eyes brightened. "You would be my friend?" "Of course," Thomas replied. From that night on, Thomas visited Willowmere Manor every evening. He and Eleanor would explore the house together, playing hide-and-seek in the grand ballroom and telling stories by the fireplace. Eleanor showed him secret passages and hidden rooms, laughing as she floated through walls while Thomas had to find the long-forgotten doors. As the days passed, Thomas realized that Eleanor's spirit remained bound to the manor because of her sadness. "Maybe there's something keeping you here," he mused one evening. "Something unfinished." Eleanor looked thoughtful. "Perhaps, but I don't know what it could be." Determined to help his friend, Thomas began searching the manor for clues. He read through old letters and searched forgotten trunks in the attic. Then one day, he found a small wooden box hidden beneath the floorboards. Inside was a locket with a tiny portrait of Eleanor and a letter, unfinished and yellowed with age. Thomas brought the box to Eleanor. I think this belonged to you." Eleanor gasped as she saw the locket. "My mother's gift. I lost it the night I fell. I was going to write her a letter, but I never finished it. I wanted to tell her I loved her." Tears shimmered in her ghostly eyes. "Perhaps this is why I've remained here." Thomas had an idea. The next morning he went to the village and found the descendants of the Hawthorne family. An elderly woman named Margaret, who was Eleanor's great-great-niece, listened to his story with wide eyes. "Eleanor was always spoken of with great love," Margaret said softly. "My grandmother often wondered if her spirit still lingered." Thomas handed her the locket and letter. "I think she just needed someone to remember her." That evening, Margaret and her family accompanied Thomas to Willowmere Manor. They lit candles and placed flowers beneath the great oak tree, Eleanor's favorite place. When Eleanor appeared, she was no longer just a ghostly figure. She was radiant, her sorrow replaced with warmth. She smiled at Margaret, who whispered, "You are not forgotten, dear Eleanor." A peaceful glow surrounded Eleanor as she turned to Thomas. "Thank you, my friend. You have given me the gift of remembrance." With that, Eleanor's spirit shimmered like morning light and slowly faded into the